Hi, my name is Brian Hoffman, and I've spent the last 7 years building OpenBazaar and running OB1, the startup I co-founded. OpenBazaar is a decentralized marketplace run by thousands of people around the planet using peer-to-peer software to communicate and conduct censorship-resistant free trade using cryptocurrency. When I started the OpenBazaar project back in 2014, I never knew that the crypto industry would end up the way it has, or if it would even still exist in 2021 for that matter. It has been amazing to see all of the innovation and new technology being created, while Bitcoin remains rock solid to this day as the foundation for a new worldwide economy. 2020 was a crazy year for a lot of people, some good and some bad, and I wasn't spared in this as my startup and our open source project started to break down, and not because of COVID. The lessons I learned were complex, and the last few months have been an extremely hard pill to swallow as we've slowly decommissioned servers and let amazing staff go. But I'd like to take a little bit of time to talk about why I think OpenBazaar ultimately hasn't worked and how others who follow in our footsteps might succeed where we couldn't. Soon after we started the OpenBazaar project and began distributing the first version to our excited users, we realized we had stumbled upon something really amazing. OpenBazaar was one of the first real decentralized applications to use Bitcoin as a currency and not just a speculative instrument or a toy for computer geeks. People could set up an e-commerce storefront in seconds and be able to accept Bitcoin. And it cost nothing at all to the users. It was completely free. Our ambitious goal of creating a new marketplace in the space did not go unnoticed, and within a year we were able to secure a $1 million seed round in VC funding from some of the most amazing venture capitalists in the world. Over the next 6 years, we would go on to raise over $9 million for the business. This number seems ridiculous in 2021, where projects with minimal credibility can raise magnitudes higher amounts of money with a mere white paper and some good social media marketing. In 2015, when we closed our seed round though, this was a rather large amount for a brand new startup in the crypto space, and as completely new entrepreneurs, we began constructing the business in a way that we felt best reflected the unique nature of what we were working on. We hired staff wherever they were located, no matter where in the world, and created a completely remote workforce. We leaned hard on our open source community to help us code, test, and deploy OpenBazaar. We were extremely lucky to have the resources we had, and it seemed like everything we needed to be successful. OpenBazaar was an ambitious vision for the future of online commerce, but vision eventually has to be translated into product, and the product we made was never good enough. Even today, I see a lot of new dApps and token projects being promoted and released, and they fail in a lot of similar ways to the ones we came up against. They're too complicated to use. They are too hard to install or set up. The fees are too high. One minute it seems like it's working, and the next thing you know, it's not. A new version, it's completely incompatible with the last one. The list goes on and on and on. And we always had an excuse or a reason why the product was inferior. It was never a real joy to use, unless everything went perfectly right. There were times when a buyer and a seller would seamlessly spend Bitcoin and be shipped the exact product they wanted halfway across the globe with no fees by someone they never met, privately and securely without anyone in the middle. And that was awesome. It was a real joy to hear about this from our users. Now you might be thinking to yourself, if that moment was so magical and users liked it so much, why'd you have to shut things down? Why weren't you able to continue securing funding to keep going? Businesses can keep raising money if they have something called traction. Traction was something we never were able to truly capture. I can rattle off a list of reasons I think we weren't able to gain traction, but here are 3 big ones that I think any future decentralized marketplace is going to have to crack if they want to succeed. 1. Build a reasonable profit model into your product from the beginning. This one seems obvious, but I created OpenBazaar to give something to the world, not become rich. I had a 6-figure job, a family, a home, and was perfectly happy not making anything from OpenBazaar. We just wanted to work on OpenBazaar full time, and the prospect of building a successful business was just a nice potential side effect. Now we see that products include airdrops and governance tokens And there were ICOs before those that enabled teams to raise ridiculous amounts of money to keep them operating for a long time. If we had had the foresight to embed incentives and profit structures from the beginning, instead of being so altruistic, we could have at least mitigated the burn rates and worked towards becoming a sustainable business. Don't solve hard problems just to solve hard problems. Build what the users need. We let ourselves get enamored with solving hard problems over and over instead of leaning on others and creating partnerships with projects that were already doing what we wanted to do, just better. Now, we didn't completely fail this one, as we did migrate to using IPFS early on, which was great, and then used Trezor's Blockbook software for our wallet API. But there were tons of instances where we ended up rolling our own solutions for things that we could have quickly done in a much easier way. We also really didn't listen to our users. Our users weren't asking for more complicated shipping options or other fancy features. They just wanted the software to work. But we continued to add more complexity without fixing the fundamental flaws that kept users from loving it. Number 3, lean into what other projects and companies are doing that is working. This one's going to be a little controversial to the maximalists in the audience, but from a business perspective, it needs to be said. We continually dismissed ideas that were taking off, like Ethereum, and smart contracts, and Web3, all in the name of ideology. Passion projects can afford to spin their wheels tackling difficult academic problems and never make any money, but VC-backed businesses need to grow, and these technologies have. We fought with our investors and ourselves to not do a token, and we watched every other company in the investors' portfolio roll out their tokens and bring in huge sums of capital to their businesses. We also continually tried to justify our flaws by saying that we were the best in our segment and that no one was really doing it that well, so we get a pass. This is the worst virus a company can spread internally. Like a functioning alcoholic that refuses to admit that they have a problem, we couldn't solve our problems because we declared them unsolvable. If we had opened our eyes and looked around, we could have absorbed the things going on in the crypto space that were working and tried to adopt those rather than swim upstream against the tide. For a while, I felt a lot of regret and shame for letting things end up the way that they have. And to be honest, I still do harbor those feelings. There was no IPO pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for the folks that I convinced to work at OB1. Some of them probably hold a grudge for not being a better CEO and leader, and they probably have some really great reasons to justify their feelings. But I also know we created something really cool that inspired others to go out and try to make their own ideas a reality. In the end, all technology is evolutionary. Someone has to blaze a trail to the future, and there are a lot of dead bodies on the way to success. I know that someday a decentralized marketplace will exist, and I like to think that we'll have had some small part of that milestone. Long live OpenBazaar.